Check your bottom number, not the top one, the bottom one. The number most doctors glance at and move past in a 15-minute appointment is the single most accurate predictor of stroke in adults over 60, and almost no one over the age of 60 in this country has been told that. A 2021 analysis published in the New England Journal of Medicine, drawing on more than 1.3 million blood pressure readings, found that your diastolic number, that bottom number, carries a warning signal that shows up years before a stroke ever arrives. Yet, the people most at risk are not the ones with the scariest readings. The people most at risk are the ones who were told their pressure was, in their doctor's word, fine. I work as a physician focused on cardiovascular and stroke prevention. And over the years, I have sat across from too many patients who walked out of an appointment believing they were safe because one number looked acceptable, while the number that actually mattered was quietly drifting in the wrong direction. So, in the next 20-some minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly what that bottom number is telling you, why conventional appointments skip it, and what you can do this week to read your own risk before it reads you. Here is exactly what I'm going to walk you through in plain language, so you can use it tonight. Promise number 1 is the one specific diastolic range that signals rising stroke risk in seniors over 60, and why a reading that looks low can be more dangerous than a reading that looks high. Promise number 2 is the 60-second home test you can do at your own kitchen table with a cuff you can buy for under $40 that catches this pattern long before any single office visit will. Promise number 3 is the 3 categories of people for whom the standard blood pressure target is simply wrong, including one group whose doctors are still using a guideline that the major cardiology bodies revised years ago. Promise number 4 is the exact sequence of questions to ask at your next appointment that forces the conversation on to the number that matters instead of the number that is easy. And promise number 5 is the single most common mistake I see seniors make when they finally do start tracking their pressure, a mistake that makes their own readings lie to them, and the simple fix that takes 30 seconds. There is also one part of this story that even some well-meaning health columns have gotten backwards, and I will come back to it later, because the way they got it wrong is precisely the way most people over 60 are about to get it wrong. Let me start with someone real, in the sense that she is built from cases I have seen again and again. Eleanor is 68. She lives in a tidy ranch house in Dayton, Ohio, the same house she and her husband raised 3 children in. She walks her dog twice a day, a beagle named Biscuit, a mile in the morning and a mile after dinner, rain or shine. She is not overweight. She does not smoke. She eats the way a careful person eats. She switched to olive oil years ago. She keeps the salt shaker off the table. For most of her life, her blood pressure ran a little high on the top number, the systolic, the pressure when the heart pushes, sitting somewhere around 140. Her doctor put her on a common blood pressure medication, an ACE inhibitor called lisinopril, and over a couple of years that top number came down beautifully into the 120s. Everyone was pleased. The chart looked clean. At every visit, the medical assistant wrapped the cuff. The machine beeped. The top number flashed in the right range, and the room relaxed. What nobody was watching was the bottom number. As Eleanor's top number came down, her bottom number, the diastolic, the pressure when the heart rests between beats, kept falling too. It went from the high 70s to the low 70s, down to 58. And in an adult over 60, a diastolic that low is not a sign of health. It can be a sign that the large arteries have stiffened with age, and that the heart's own arteries are not filling properly during that rest phase between beats. Think about what that means in plain terms. The coronary arteries that feed Eleanor's own heart muscle do most of their filling during diastole, during that rest beat. And if the pressure driving that filling has collapsed to 58, the margin for the brain and heart to get the blood they need has thinned to almost nothing. The brain pays for it. The same low pressure that looks so reassuring on paper means that the small perforating vessels deep in her brain, the ones that supply the regions that control her right hand and her speech, are being asked to do their work on a fuel line that is running close to empty. One Tuesday morning in March, Eleanor bent to pick up the dog's water bowl and felt the room tip. Her right hand would not close. The words she tried to say came out scrambled. She told me later she knew exactly what she wanted to say and could not understand why it would not come out. Her daughter, who happened to be visiting, recognized it. She had seen one of those public service spots. The face droop, arm weakness, speech difficulty, time to call reminders, and called for help within minutes. And that fast call is the only reason Eleanor is still walking her dog today. In stroke, the saying is that time is brain. Somewhere around 1.9 million neurons die for every minute that blood flow is cut off, which is why the minutes between symptom and treatment decide whether someone walks out or is wheeled out. But here is what stayed with me. 3 weeks before that morning, Eleanor had a routine checkup. Her top number was 122. Her doctor said, and I am quoting the note, "Pressure well controlled." The bottom number, 56, was right there on the same line, the same printout, the same 15 strip of paper. Nobody mentioned it. I am not telling you Eleanor's story because Eleanor is unusual. I am telling you because Eleanor is typical of exactly the senior this pattern hunts. And the decision that put her at risk, trusting the top number and never asking about the bottom one, is the same decision millions of adults over 60 are making this very week. There are roughly 75 million Americans with high blood pressure, and a very large share of the ones over 60 are sitting in exactly Eleanor's blind spot, comforted by a top number while the bottom one tells a story no one is reading aloud. So, let me explain the mechanism in plain English so you can repeat it to anyone you love. Your blood pressure reading is two numbers. The top number, systolic, is the pressure inside your arteries when your heart contracts and pushes blood out. The bottom number, diastolic, is the pressure that remains when your heart relaxes and refills. For most of adult life, doctors worried mostly about high numbers, both of them, and for good reason. The famous Framingham Heart Study, which has followed thousands of residents of one Massachusetts town since 1948, taught a couple of generations of physicians that diastolic pressure was the number to fear in middle age. And for a 45-year-old, that is true. But something changes as you age. The large arteries near the heart, especially the aorta, gradually lose their stretch. They stiffen. The elastin fibers that gave them their spring fray and are replaced by stiffer collagen and calcium deposits accumulate in the wall. A young artery is like a fresh rubber band. An older artery is more like an old garden hose left in the sun. It has lost the give that used to absorb each beat. When that big artery stiffens, two things happen at once. The top number tends to climb because the artery no longer cushions each heartbeat. The full force of the contraction slams into a rigid pipe instead of being softened by an elastic one. And the bottom number tends to fall because the stiff artery cannot hold pressure during the rest phase the way a springy one could. A healthy elastic aorta works like a second pump. It stretches when the heart pushes, then recoils during the rest phase to keep blood moving and keep pressure up. When it stiffens, that recoil is gone. So, the pressure between beats sags. That gap between the two numbers, the top minus the bottom, gets wider. Cardiologists call that gap the pulse pressure. A wide pulse pressure in someone over 60, say a top of 150 over a bottom of 60, is one of the strongest arterial warning signs we have, and it is sitting right there on the same readings people are told to ignore. A pulse pressure of 90 is not a curiosity. It is the aorta telling you in numbers how old and stiff it has become. And stiffness, not just height, is what drives the damage. Now here is the part that matters most for stroke, and the part that, according to research summarized by the American Heart Association, is still underappreciated. Your heart muscle itself gets its blood supply during diastole, during that rest phase, when the bottom number rules. Unlike every other organ, the heart cannot feed itself while it is squeezing because the contraction clamps its own vessels shut. It must wait for the rest beat. If the diastolic pressure drops too low in an older adult, the heart's own arteries, and by extension, The small vessels feeding the brain may not get adequately perfused. There is a concept cardiologists use here called the J curve. The idea that as you push pressure down, risk falls and falls, and then at some point it turns back up, so that the very lowest numbers carry risk again. So a diastolic that is too high signals strain and damage, but a diastolic that is too low in a senior with stiff arteries can signal that vital organs are being shortchanged of blood flow exactly when they need it. Both ends of that bottom number carry risk. Studies suggest the danger zone for many seniors sits below 60 on the bottom. And a 2017 analysis in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology raised exactly this concern about pushing older patients' diastolic too low, finding that in older adults, diastolic readings under 60 were associated with more cardiac events, not fewer, even when the top number looked ideal. This is why I told you the people most at risk are often the ones told they were fine. Eleanor's top number looked textbook. Her bottom number had quietly fallen into the range where the brain starts to suffer. The mechanism worked exactly as the aging artery dictates. Stiff pipe, high top, sagging bottom, starved rest phase, vulnerable brain. Eleanor was not an exception. Eleanor was the rule. And the cruelty of it is that the treatment that fixed her top number was in part what dragged her bottom number into the danger zone. Nobody did anything reckless. They did the standard thing, watched the standard number and missed the one the standard does not emphasize. Now let me show you how this same pattern reaches people who look nothing like Eleanor. Because if you think this only happens to small women in Ohio, you will miss it in yourself. Take Marcus. He is 71, a retired long-haul truck driver outside Houston, broad-shouldered, still strong, the kind of man who carries his own groceries in one trip and would never describe himself as a patient. His top number ran high for decades, often near 160, and he wore it almost like a badge, telling people his pressure had always been high and he had always been fine. 30 years behind the wheel, gas station meals, irregular sleep, the artery wall keeps the receipts for all of it. But his bottom number was sitting at 54. That combination, a high top, a low bottom, a pulse pressure of over 100, is the stiff artery signature in capital letters. A pulse pressure over 100 in a man his age is not borderline. It is a flashing sign that the aorta has lost most of its elasticity. Marcus did not have a stroke. He had what we call a transient ischemic attack, a TIA, a temporary loss of blood flow to the brain that resolved in 20 minutes. His left side went numb, his coffee cup slid out of his hand, and then it passed. And he told himself it was nothing. People call it a mini stroke and brush it off. It is not minor. It is a fire alarm. Roughly 1 in 3 people who have a warning event like that and ignore it go on to have a full stroke, many within 90 days, according to data cited by the American Stroke Association. And the highest risk is in the first 48 hours, when the same vessel that briefly clogged is most likely to clog again for good. Marcus is the case that shows you the warning shot, and that the warning shot is the gift, if you listen to it. He listened? Barely, because his wife made him. The workup showed exactly the stiff artery-wide pulse pressure picture, and the plan changed before the second event ever came. Then there is Joyce. She is 63, a retired school teacher in Sacramento, and she is the surprising one. Joyce's numbers looked perfect by the old standard, 118/72. Her doctor would say, beautiful. And clinically, he would not be wrong. On any single day, that reading is one most of us would be glad to have. But Joyce had been tracking her own pressure at home for 6 months every morning, the same way she used to take attendance, and she noticed something a single office visit could never catch. Her bottom number on its own was creeping up, 72 in January, 76 in March, 80 in May. The average was rising even though no single reading was alarming, and no single reading would ever have triggered a phone call. In adults under 65, a rising diastolic, specifically the trend, not the snapshot, is associated with elevated stroke and heart risk down the road. Because in a younger artery, a climbing bottom number reflects rising resistance in the small vessels, the early signature of the disease before it ever shows up as a scary headline number. It is invisible to anyone looking at one number on one day. An office visit once a year would have caught Joyce at 72 in January and called it perfect, then caught her at 80 next January and still called it acceptable, and never once seen the slope connecting the two. Joyce caught it because she watched the trend. Her doctor adjusted her plan, a modest change, mostly lifestyle and one early medication conversation, and the climb stopped. Then reversed. Joyce is the case that proves the point of this entire video. The number that predicts stroke is not the one on a clipboard, once a year. It is the one you watch over time. 3 people. A small active woman with a too low bottom number that her medication helped push down. A strong stoic man with a wide pulse pressure and a warning event he nearly ignored. A younger retiree with a quietly rising trend that no appointment would have flagged. Different bodies, different decades, different directions on that bottom number, but the same overlooked number sitting at the center of all 3. So here is exactly what to do in this order, starting this week. First, buy a validated upper arm blood pressure monitor and stop relying solely on the office reading, not a wrist cuff. Wrist cuffs are far less reliable for this purpose because the wrist arteries are smaller and the position of your wrist relative to your heart throws the reading off easily. An upper arm automatic cuff that has been clinically validated costs roughly $30 to $50 at any pharmacy. Look on the box or the manufacturer's site for the word validated, and you can cross-check the model on the public listing maintained at validatebp.org, which is run independently and lists only the devices that have passed accuracy testing against the standards the American Medical Association recognizes. And get the right cuff size. A cuff that is too small for your arm will read falsely high. A cuff too large will read falsely low, and the difference can be more than 10 points. This is the foundation for everything else, because as you saw with Joyce, the office snapshot misses the trend. Do this first. Second, measure correctly, because measuring wrong is the mistake that makes your own numbers lie to you. And this is promise number 5, paid in full. Sit quietly for 5 full minutes before you measure, not 2, 5, because it takes that long for the morning's small stresses to settle out of your circulation. Feet flat on the floor, not crossed. Crossing your legs alone can raise the reading several points. Back supported because tensing your back muscles to hold yourself up nudges the number up. Arm resting on a table at the level of your heart, not hanging down, not raised up. Do not talk during the measurement. Talking can add 10 points. Do not measure right after coffee, a cigarette, or exercise. And empty your bladder first because a full bladder can lift the reading too. Take 2 readings 1 minute apart every morning before medication and food, and write down both numbers, top and bottom, every single day for 2 weeks. An arm that dangles below heart level can falsely raise your reading by as much as 10 points because you are partly measuring the weight of the column of blood, not just the pressure in the vessel. That single positioning error sends more people into needless worry and false reassurance than almost anything else I see. The fix takes 30 seconds. Prop the arm on the table so the cuff sits level with the middle of your chest, and the lie corrects itself. Third, calculate your pulse pressure and watch your bottom numbers trend. After 2 weeks, take your typical morning reading. Subtract the bottom number from the top number. That is your pulse pressure. In an adult over 60, a pulse pressure consistently above 60 deserves a real conversation with your physician, and above 70 deserves an urgent one. So if you are reading 150 over 70, your pulse pressure is 80. That is the number to bring up, even though neither of the 2 readings on its own may have alarmed anyone. Separately, look at whether your bottom number on its own is drifting below 60 or steadily climbing the way Joyce's was. You are now reading the 2 signals that the research points to. The 2 signals Eleanor and Joyce's charts were quietly broadcasting. the gap that means stiffness, and the trend that means change. Fourth, bring the numbers, not the worry, to your next appointment and ask 3 specific questions. Question 1, given my age, what diastolic range are we actually targeting for me, and are we using current guidance? Question 2, is my pulse pressure in a range that concerns you? Question 3, could any of my medications be pushing my bottom number too low? Those 3 questions force the visit onto the number that matters because they cannot be answered with the word fine. Each one demands an actual number and an actual judgment. Bring your 2-week log printed on paper. A printed log changes the conversation more than any sentence you can say because it is data the physician cannot wave off. It turns you from a patient with a vague concern into a patient with a data set. And a 14-day morning record taken under good conditions is, frankly, better information than the single rushed reading the office will take that day. Fifth, know the 3 groups for whom the standard target is wrong. This is promise number 3. Group 1, adults over 75 with stiff arteries where pushing the bottom number too low can do more harm than good. Exactly the J-curve problem we talked about. Group 2, people with diabetes or existing kidney disease who often need an individualized target rather than a one-size number because their small vessels are already compromised, and an aggressively low diastolic can tip an organ that is already living close to its margin. Group 3, anyone on multiple blood pressure medications where the combination can drop the diastolic further than intended. 2 and 3, drugs stacked together can pull the bottom number down past 60 without anyone planning for it, which is very close to what happened to Eleanor. Major cardiology bodies revised their thinking on aggressive targets in older adults years ago. The conversation shifted after the SPRINT trial and the guideline updates that followed, recognizing that the right number depends on the patient in front of you. Yet, many appointments still run on the old reflex of lower is always better. For these 3 groups, lower is not always better. It can be the trigger. Now, before we finish the part I promised to come back to, the thing some health columns get backwards. They will tell you, reassuringly, that a low diastolic number is nothing to worry about, that only the top number counts as you age. That advice is half right and dangerously incomplete. In a healthy 50-year-old, a lowish bottom number can indeed be benign. In that body, the artery is still elastic, the rest phase is still well supplied, and a relaxed bottom number is just a sign of an easy circulation. But in a senior over 60 with stiffening arteries, a bottom number that has fallen below 60 is one of the patterns most associated with reduced blood flow to the brain and heart. The very same reading means 2 opposite things in 2 different bodies, and the columns flatten that into one cheerful sentence. The column tells you to relax about the very number that should make you ask a question. That is exactly the trap Eleanor's chart fell into. A 56 that would have been harmless at 50 was a warning at 68. And the reassuring version of the advice is the one that let it slide. And here is one move that even some primary care visits will not raise. If your bottom number sits at or below 60 and you are taking blood pressure medication, you can ask your physician specifically about the timing and the dose of your evening medication, because for some people, the diastolic dips lowest overnight when the brain is most vulnerable. Most of us experience a natural nighttime dip in blood pressure of around 10 to 20% during sleep. And if your daytime diastolic is already sitting at 60, that normal overnight dip can carry it into the low 50s or below in the small hours, exactly when you are flat, still, and least likely to notice. A simple 24-hour ambulatory monitor, a cuff you wear for a day that takes readings around the clock, usually every 20 or 30 minutes, can reveal an overnight low that no morning reading and no office visit will ever catch. This is informational, not a prescription, and any medication change must be made by your doctor. But for the right person, asking for a 24-hour monitor is the question that uncovers the hidden window of risk, the hours between 2 shas and 5 in the morning that no clinic is ever open to measure. If your numbers are all comfortably in range, you do not need this. If your bottom number runs low, this is the move. I have put together a free one-page resource called the Bottom Number Tracker. It is a printable morning log with the correct measuring posture illustrated, a built-in pulse pressure calculator, the 3 questions to ask your doctor, and a simple chart so you can see your 2-week trend at a glance. You can get it at the link in the description below. It is free, there is nothing to buy, and it is designed to be the single sheet you bring to your next appointment. If this helped you understand a number your own chart has probably been showing you for years, the most useful thing you can do is hit the like button and subscribe to Dr. Vitalis, because every subscriber helps this reach one more person over 60 who was told they were fine. There is no billing code for prevention, so this channel is how the message travels. And if you have a parent, a spouse, or a neighbor over 60 who takes blood pressure medication, send them this video today before their next appointment so they walk in already knowing to ask about the bottom number. That one question, asked in time, is the kind of thing that keeps someone walking their dog the next morning. This video is for education only and is not medical advice. So please talk with your own physician about your specific situation. I will see you in the next one.